All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, all. I hope the Thanksgiving weekend was delicious, delightful, and terrific for everyone. However it came together for you. Maybe relatives have cleared out. Maybe relatives are staying through the holidays that still have to come. That can be a long siege, man, when the relatives come in and, we'll just stay through the Christmas holidays. Really? But sometimes they've come a long distance, so that makes total sense. And sometimes it's terrific when they can stay longer. Anyway, we know and acknowledge the full range. So today, there's a lot going on. Really terrific information I think you'll be happy with. And Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
I watched Nikki's show. You were very good on Nikki's show.
Oh, why, thank you.
Sometimes I watch Nikki's show. I hope you won't take this the wrong way.
Uh-oh.
And I feel like you give like 110% on that show.
Oh,
and on this show,
really?
you give like 100%. Yeah.
Kim, how are you?
I don't know. I'm just saying it's, you really, I don't know. And then I'm thinking, well, you know what, Mark? Actually, maybe you only want 100% from Kim. You don't want
I think that's the point. That's right.
And Tony's here too.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, let's get it on. I'm loving it. So today, there is in the first half hour, we'll have a chunk of Trump, bowling with Biden, Amish pot.
What?
Yeah, exactly. And a bizarre, I hope we get to this. I have two stories about firearms that I'll relate to you, and they don't involve somebody, directly. This isn't one of these horrible stories. It's more of an interesting story, one about gun ownership and also the way Hollywood is handling guns. So I'll get to that as well. That's just in the first half hour. Then,
why are you yelling?
I have a law and disorder, if I can get to it. In the second half hour, of course, it is Mark's Murder Mystery Monday with Courtney, who will be in here. This is how much I don't care about true crime. Okay, I just don't have an interest in true crime. I know that most of you do, and that's great. It's the same way people say, I don't really care about politics, blah, blah, blah. You meet those people, and I can't imagine not caring about politics and government and all of these things. But there are people who just, they're not into it, and they click out. And so I am that way with true crime. So she said, yeah, I said, she said, I've been working all night. I'm going to do the such and such story. Like I'm supposed to know it, like the McGregor story or whatever it is. The Beckenworth crime or whatever. She just, and I go, yeah, whatever. It's great. I'm excited, but I don't know what that is. So she will lay it all out for us
In
the
her
second
defense,
half hour. Yeah.
when I did my informal poll of which Mark Thompson show segment was the favorite, Mark's Murder Mystery Monday was on the top of the list.
Seriously? When did you do that, and how did you do that?
It was my informal poll that I took.
Who did you poll?
I polled the people at the meetup. Remember, I asked at the meetup.
Oh, that's right. You did.
And I said, "What's your favorite segment?" And more than one person said Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Oh, I'd forgotten that. I really had forgotten that. I can't
So
challenge
you're
the
an
result.
odd man out. Yeah.
I can't challenge the result of that poll or even your recollection since I don't remember it at all. But all right. So anyway, well, Courtney will be here. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Second hour brings Karen Dawn in at the end of the show with news from animals. Obviously, we'll talk about the hostage release as well today and things going on in the Middle East. Might there be an opportunity? And there's a lot going on. I also want to do something here, and I maybe I'll do some news first and then you kind of get the state of the state, and then we'll, it's the holidays, and I'd like everybody on our show to do a holiday greeting. I'm going to do a bunch of them, and I think as the weeks pass here and we get closer to, the culmination of the holiday season, it'd be nice to get everybody's saying, happy holidays, however you're spending it, Merry Christmas. You don't have to avoid saying Merry Christmas, whatever you want to say. And so we may have both Kim and Tony do a rehearsal greeting. I'm not actually asking you to record it today, but maybe.
Like a live rehearsal?
Yeah, live rehearsal, because I think the audience can help inform what you put in your greeting. They can make suggestions.
You want me to screw up in front of everybody?
Well, I don't think you're going to screw up. You can't screw up. It's the holidays. It's the season of forgiveness and giving,
Okay.
So
I'll play your reindeer game as Mark Thompson. I'll play your reindeer game.
You'll have a little time to think about it. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
I also want to acknowledge what a football weekend it was. Of course, Niners rocked the show. We've already talked about that. But that game last night, that Eagles-Bills game, and as you know, I have a place in my heart for Buffalo. And Cindy O, I believe, is one of the listeners who continues to check in with us from Buffalo. It's a heartbreaker if you're a Bills fan, and man, those Eagles look tough, and the Niners will have to play them. So it's interesting because they kind of linger, and then you realize, wow, they are. And you'll remember also I believe it was Purdy, that injury happened against the Eagles. So got to handle that pass rush somehow. A lot to do. Anyway, it was really quite the weekend. And if you were a wagering person, I think the favorites did pretty well this weekend, which means that the bookies lost money and the street won money. So stuff that nobody cares about, but it's always interesting to me just to know where all that stuff goes. So, hey, it is a salmon season that looks like a record season when you think about, where we've been. Apparently, let me put my credibility glasses on. These river restoration projects have helped restore some of that salmon run. Is it the Mokelumne River? How do you say it, Kim? Is that how you say it?
McElhenney.
McElhenney? Yeah. McElhenney River. It's 95 miles. It supplies a major chunk of drinking water to the East Bay and San Francisco Bay Area. And one of the reasons it has that name, I guess, is because of the abundance of salmon in those waters. Many years ago, they say the rivers were so packed with salmon you could walk from shore to shore along their backs. Today, after 100 years of industrialization, the river, which, again, Kim will pronounce for you,
McElhenney,
flows from the Sierra to the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta. It's different spot. It's a different place, right? You don't have that kind of grouping of salmon. Salmon now exists there primarily because of human intervention. Hatcheries raise many of the salmon that return to the waters. So to draw salmon upstream, water has to be released from dams periodically to mimic natural weather patterns. Some hatchery fish are even driven to the San Francisco Bay in trucks in an effort to help them with their passage to the ocean. So all of this is amazing. I mean, after humans screwed it up, humans are now trying to prop up this fall salmon run, and it's worked. Last week, the East Bay Municipal Utility District announcing a record-breaking fall salmon run in this river. By the way, the name of the river, which Kim will provide for you again now.
McElhenney.
McElhenney?
Mm-hmm.
McElhenney. The name translates to people of the fish. I don't need to tell you that, Kim, but everybody else. It's the language of the Miwok, an indigenous group that was native to the Bay Area. Over 20,000 salmon have already returned to spawn to the river this year. That's a figure not seen in 80 years.
What?
Wow.
It was too good, they said, to keep it quiet. So the district said this record-breaking salmon run in large part a reflection of the way the river is being managed. Now, they worry that this won't be sustainable. It's been a brutal story, the salmon story, the vanishing salmon story, essentially in the Bay Area we're talking about. But this is true across the country. As you know, they closed the whole recreational salmon fishery because of historic low salmon abundance. That was last year. So they point in this case to, yeah, it's good there for that river, but elsewhere it's really brutal. And so even as East Bay Mud has done well on that river, there is a struggle to bring salmon back at other rivers in the Central Valley. And the only way they say you're going to get fish back is by artificial means, essentially. So we screwed it up. Maybe we can bring it back, but it's going to take many, many years to actually bring salmon back to the many rivers in California. But good news in that one case.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, let's turn to national news. I just thought that was a little good news. And I'll get to your former president, Donald Trump, and what he wants to do. But first, let's turn to the current president in a segment we like to call Bowling with Biden.
Live from White House Lanes, it's Bowling with Biden.
It's go time!
This man's going to win a lot of political offices.
Now, here's your Bowling with Biden host, Mark Thompson.
And indeed, the Prez wants a little credit. He wants a little credit for lower Thanksgiving meal prices. I mean, come on, you just finished the big weekend. How about, throw a brother a little bit of credit for apparently dinner staples, airfare, and gasoline being cheaper today than at this time last year.
What?
Yes. President Joe Biden and his Democratic allies want a little credit for the falling costs. Inflation remains higher than pre-pandemic levels, but prices are falling year to year.
Wait a minute. I thought the president had no control over prices. So what is it?
The president has no control over gas prices.
I mean, either you have no control over it or you want to take credit for it. Which is it?
No, this is a classic mistake. I'm not surprised that you would make it, frankly, Kim, because, the president has control, and economic policy does control prices in many ways. I mean, you've seen Fed policy affect inflation, right? Essentially, that's the big governor we have on it. It's not always the best way to handle inflation, but it's the way that's most typically used to handle inflation. But the president, for example, has no control over fuel prices. They're just affected on the international market by so many things you have no control over. But economic policy does affect prices, most certainly. And so it's fair to peacock a little bit. Yeah.
Over time, not like you don't wave your hand and say, well, Thanksgiving dinner is cheap now.
Well, you can look year to year. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You can say this year, which is all they're saying. They're saying this year it's less. Mm-hmm. Those elements that are associated with the Thanksgiving dinner are less expensive than they were last year.
Yeah.
So the key holiday expenses, airfare and gasoline, they've fallen. Now, to Kim's point, after I've just put Kim down, I'd like to give her a little credit.
Yeah.
That airfare and gas, dude, we can't give you credit for that. For the reasons that Kim just has noted, which is you don't really have control over that. Now, these other things, the other staples, the expenses that might go into that dinner or those meals or major staples in American households, yeah, okay, we'll give you some credit for that. But the big thing they care about is not whether Kim and Mark give them credit. Mm-hmm. They care about whether Randy will give them credit. And here Randy is in the chat. It doesn't matter if Biden has control or not over prices and which prices. He's the president, and the blame stops with him. Come voting time. Wow.
Good day, sir.
Okay, that's certainly true. And that, interestingly, Randy, is one of the things that they're concerned with. They're concerned with Biden being given credit for the fact that some products and services are cheaper today than a year ago. Again, prices for staples still higher overall than before the pandemic, but year to year, they're cheaper. So you can blame COVID-19 and disruptions in the supply chain, but essentially they're saying, hey, how about a little bit of credit for some good economic policy and writing herd over it? If you're going to fault Biden for prices going up, says Vilma, then you have to give him credit when prices go down. Exactly. All right?
Good day, sir.
Exactly. It is true, but, most of this stuff is politicized, so you're right. You don't, or your implication is correct, which is you don't get credit, for lower prices if you're trying to be tagged by someone who is looking to make political hay of it, The other thing that's happening is there's certain elements and stories within the economy that are being used and politicized to attack Biden and his administration. And so the most recent one is this $16 McDonald's meal. And by the way, Kim pointed this out to me. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
This is a $16 McDonald's meal. And, it's like really like a one-off. It was like found in you'll correct me, Kim, but it's like, it's not a common thing, this $16 McDonald's meal. It was found in this place. If you order this and you order that, then it can come out to $16. Then they post it on social media, and right-wing media just takes off with it. Look, Biden, has ruined even McDonald's. Isn't that more or less the story?
Yes, although I don't necessarily know that it's only in one place, because I think that prices have gone up at fast food restaurants. So if, you're headed through the drive-thru, don't be surprised that what used to cost maybe $10 will cost you $20, $25 right now.
What?
Just the way it is.
It says here that in the town of Post Falls, Idaho, this is why I said it was like in this one place.
Right.
That this guy ordered a limited edition. Again, that's why I said it was a one-off.
Yeah.
A limited edition smoky double quarter pounder BLT with fries and a Sprite. The meal cost $16.10. And of course, he then posted that on TikTok, and that's how it went viral. There it is. But I'm just suggesting that it might not be, well, you may be right. It might be more expensive in general.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not that. Right.
Right.
So there are a bunch of Reddit posts and YouTube posts saying, dude, that's not what it is. This is like really, twisting the facts. But the administration, there it is, $16.10. But the administration is trying to get a hold of that, like to try to beat back the social media drums. It's really, really tough. And Biden and his people are saddled with that.
That's the thing, is you put something like that on social media, it takes off like wildfire. And then, it becomes this meme for blaming the president for something. So.
Exactly. No, that's right. So Biden has to deal with that. And that is Bowling with Biden for today.
That's all for this edition.
There's your new later.
But join us again next time for Bowling with Biden.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Meantime, on the other side of the political spectrum, he's at it again. Everybody's favorite ex-president. Here it is, your chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Well, Donald Trump is stumping a little bit in Iowa. He's not really out there on the big grand Trump tour the way he used to be. But in Iowa, he has made comments that might give some Americans concern. He has hinted at an expanded role for the military within the U.S. And you may say, well, you can't do that because there are laws that prevent that for putting U.S. troops on the street. Not so fast. He actually can do that. First, let's review his frustration. He is concerned with what happened during his administration the last time when there was widespread protest on American streets. And the president wanted to bring in troops, and he started with Washington, D.C., wanted to bring in troops to quell that violence. There wasn't really violence. I think there was some violence. Actually, that's not fair. There was violence. There was looting, and most of the protests were peaceful, but then there was looting. And without going through all of it, let's assume for this, the sake of this situation and discussion, that there is some kind of situation of unrest, okay? So he says he wants to use the military to quell that violence in what he calls primarily democratic cities and states. So he wants to bring it into, those cities and states that are run by those evil Democrats. In fact, he called New York City and Chicago crime dens. And he told his audience, quote, "The next time I'm not waiting. One of the things I did was let them run it, and we're going to show how bad a job they do." Well, we did that. We don't have to wait any longer. He's not said exactly how he wants to use the military during a second term, but it is worth noting, because I know perhaps you hear that and you go, well, he can't do that as president. Actually, he can. There is a law that prevents the president from doing that unless he invokes the Insurrection Act. And when he invokes the Insurrection Act, and it may seem like a bridge too far, but it's not. He almost crossed that bridge, right? It allows presidents to call on reserve or active duty military units to respond to unrest in the states.
That's rich. I mean, honestly, really?
Right. It's even worse than...
Let the guy use the Insurrection Act who caused an insurrection?
Exactly. In fact, the details bear out exactly what Kim's saying.
Dear Lord.
You, as president, you have very few constraints on using the Insurrection Act. It is basically political. People don't use it who are president because they're worried about tanks rolling down the street and the reaction of the public, of the body politic, right? But there's not much really in the law to prevent the president from doing it. This, according to Joseph Nunn, a national security expert with the Brennan Center for Justice. And it is very possible, and I'll remind you what happened with the president, even though Kim has sort of just mentioned, it's very possible that Trump can declare it even as he incites it. Trump has already suggested that he might bring back retired Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Now, Michael Flynn is a hard right, lawless guy. I believe he should be stripped of a government pension. You'll know he got a pardon from Donald Trump for lying to the FBI, right? And he suggested in the aftermath of the 2020 election that Trump seize voting machines and order the military to some states to help rerun the election. That's who Michael Flynn is. It's very much possible that he could be part of a second Donald Trump administration. So you would get pushback maybe from the Pentagon, but maybe not, to grant the Pentagon more and more power. They might be up for it. So this is something that Donald Trump has talked about, and clearly I believe he's a little more unhinged on the stump than he used to be, but he's very much committed to no more Mr. Nice Guy as being part of what he does in his second term. And that is Chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another Chunk of Trump.
All right, we've got a fork in the road. First of all, I need to ask you, please, smash the like button
Smash
like
it
a boss.
with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash us with a thumbs up, if you would, please. Costs you nothing, and it does help us in the algorithm of YouTube just to get the thumbs up. That's how it works. Kim will update the hostage situation in the Middle East, the release of the hostages, an American among them, also the hiccup in all of that. I thought I would quickly get into, what do you want? I'll give you a choice. I'll let Kim choose. Kim, do you want the United States of guns? A couple of stories with that. Or do you want Amish pot?
Oh, guns or pot? Going for Amish pot for
Of course you are.
Alex.
That's the only choice there is. My God.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Of course you're going to Amish pot. It was a false choice to begin with. Anybody who didn't choose Amish pot is not even tuned in. Come on.
That would have been an immediate firing. That's it.
Oh.
You're out.
I don't know what I would have done if you didn't choose Amish pot. But all right, let me give you some word about the Amish now. I can comment on the Amish in greater detail another time. But inside the booming business of Amish cannabis, this is it. Farmers in Pennsylvania, there's a green revolution underway. Growers hope to sell $3 million worth of crops to mega firms in California in the Midwest by 2025.
Where are my weed smokers at?
They're in the Midwest in California, I guess.
I guess you don't need technology to grow marijuana.
No, you do not. In fact, they play it up that they don't use technology, Kim. That it's good old school, weed stuff that they're doing.
It looks like a machine. Is that a machine?
Well, it's maybe powered by his foot or something. You know what I mean? Like there's no, I don't know exactly how they do it.
Right.
But they are, and it's interesting. This is not a big pivot for the Amish because, the Amish really made their bones on what crop? If you guessed tobacco, there you go. They are tobacco growers. So now to pivot to pot, not a big deal. So cannabis cultivation is a big thing that they're doing. It's a legalized CBD market that's new, and it's forecast to be worth, as you're aware, $16 billion in just 2 years. And so now those adorable Amish...
Look at how cute they are with their hats, playing with the marijuana.
They look cute. I think I'd argue that there's a lot of stuff going on in Amish country that is not so cute. But here it is, Lancaster County Cannabis, they're way on it. They are convinced by reports of medicinal improvements from CBD. They do not approve, the Amish, of cannabis being used for recreation. So if you want to get high, the Amish are not about that.
What?
They are about providing you the cannabis that can be used for CBD. Mm-hmm. And these are lucrative contracts, apparently, that they're making in California in the Midwest. Jars of pre-rolled Hawaiian Haze CBD cigarettes sell for $100 a pop.
What?
There are also a number of different strains out of Amish country. They include Critical G, Silver Haze, and Merlot. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's all, But there they are looking out over their crop, and you can see lollipops and night and day hemp and all the different products that they have. It's all been made possible by this 2018 Farm Bill, which legalized the cultivation of hemp and derived products, including CBD. And so they're in on it now. The Amish, those sweet Amish, they've got that image, and they're cashing in big. They work in some pretty big groups, pretty big farms to cultivate, and that they even sell to individual customers and smoke shops around the Northeast. So from tobacco to cannabis. Yeah, nice job, Amish people. Bravo.
Cashing in like everybody
Mark
else.
Thompson Show.
Yeah, that's right. Just remember the grower's credo. Don't get high on your own supply, baby. Yeah, you don't want to do it. You're going to be tempted to do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, we still have much to do. We have staff holiday greetings that we'll do in the next hour. I have news out of Disneyland that will shock you. And I also have this from my favorite gun, Tom Gunn.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Tom Gunn. Thank you, guys. We are a crowdfunded show. I haven't mentioned supporting us financially yet today, but I will mention it now before I get to Kim's news. Tom, thank you for a $10 super sticker. That is super cool, and I am so impressed by the way the audience has kept us alive. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. Love that. And the Amish are now drug dealers. Perfect, says John. That's right.
Hey, it just says don't use technology. It doesn't say don't profit off of drugs and a black market.
I see.
It's not a black market, is it? It's on the
it's
up
legal.
and up.
It's totally legal. Yeah. And how about Daryl? Daryl, big shout out.
Big shout out.
Sorry that I've not helped lately, he says in his super chat. $9.99. It's a $10 super sticker. Super chat and super stickers live, of course, throughout the show. You can also make a contribution if you're listening or watching afterward. You see the little heart with a $sign. That's a way to support us. And the big way to support us is with our ongoing supporters. Really, frankly, the ongoing support, the monthly support, is the way we stay on the air, and that's Patreon and PayPal. So, but all of this really counts. It really does. And people talk about YouTube. YouTube helps us by making it easy for you to support us. So thanks a lot for that. And thank you, Daryl. Love that. Love having you back in the mix. Still to come, Courtney. We're going on a major cruise together. I'll share some details of that as we ramp up to that vacation. But right now, smash the like button like a boss. What's that, Kim?
Smashed it with your iron rod.
What was that?
I'm just laughing at you. That's all.
Yeah. Laughter's appropriate most of the time in my case. All right. Kim's news, and then Courtney joins with another piece of true crime. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. And I have something to tell you about Coachella Valley Coffee. I got a giant box of tea from Cliff at Coachella Valley Coffee. 13 different types of tea. So, much like the 12 days of Christmas, I thought I'll do the 13 days of tea. And every day I'll try a new one during the sponsorship and let you know what I think.
Oh, that's a clever idea. Good deal.
13 days of tea starts.
Courtney adores their tea.
It's really good, but I haven't tried all of it yet. Today, we're going to try the Earl Grey. All right? Okay.
Courtney, that's a good one, right?
That's a good one.
Oh, hang on. Why is Courtney's mic not being heard, Tony?
I
All
don't
right,
know.
go ahead.
I can't work in these conditions.
there she
The
is.
the Earl Grey is really. I've had the Earl Grey too. It's
The Earl
excellent.
Grey is great. Yeah, it's a fan favorite here.
Yeah,
I'm moments
really
away
enjoy it.
from trying it. I have it in iced tea form, so we'll see how this
nice.
goes.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at you! All right.
But first, let's talk about what's happening in Israel-Hamas in the war here. What we know is that the White House is confirming a 2-day extension of the pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby telling reporters that Hamas has agreed to release another 20 hostages over that time frame. Now, Hamas has released more than 50 hostages, primarily women and children, while Israel freed more than 100 Palestinian prisoners. So, 2 more days, another 20 hostages released. That's what we know thus far.
There was a hiccup, I think, because it was supposed to be children, like the 4-year-old who was released.
Right.
Although, one of these kids was released, they killed the parents right there, and they grabbed the child as a hostage. I mean, it's all pretty grotesque and atrocity-filled. But anyway, they were supposed to release the mother and the child. Isn't that right, Kim? And then they didn't release the mother and the child. They released only the child. That was my understanding.
I do know the 4-year-old girl was released, and I did read a story about 3 boys that were released, and they didn't know at the time that their mom had been killed when they were taken in. So they were released to find out their mom's dead. Yeah.
No. Anyway, continue. So that was one of the hiccups, and now it's back on. Again, they're releasing these hostages. There were supposed to be 50 in total in small groups.
Yeah, and now we get another 20. This horrible thing also happened. This is the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, saying the shooting of these 3 Palestinian college students in his city is shocking. Mayor Mira Weinberger added that the weekend shooting was unprovoked, and he thanked law enforcement for quickly apprehending the suspect, 48-year-old Jason Eaton, though a motive has yet to be officially released in this case. A U.S. Navy warship came under fire while responding to a distress call from a commercial tanker. This happened in the Gulf of Aden. There it is, the USS Mason. The U.S. Central Command says the USS Mason was not hit Sunday when several missiles were fired from a rebel-controlled area of Yemen. There have been numerous attacks on U.S. forces in the region since the start of the Israel-Hamas war.
It's also been a problem for shipping lanes generally. I mean, this is a military vessel you're seeing here, but there are ships that are commercial vessels that are being affected by this as well. So this affects the international community, and there's been a lot of conversation around how these Houthi rebels or these various missiles being fired from Yemen could very much affect commercial traffic. So this is how these conflicts spill over.
Well, and this ship, the USS Mason, was responding to a distress call from a commercial tanker.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah.
This is the week New York Republican Congressman George Santos says he actually fully expects to be expelled from Congress. So I don't know why he bothered to go to work if you know you're going to get fired, but yep.
Good day, sir.
Right.
Santos making the comment on X, formerly known as Twitter, over the holiday weekend. A House Ethics Committee said it found evidence that Santos violated numerous rules, all of which he still denies.
Well, he only used, it's suggested, campaign donations to pay for personal expenses and Botox treatments and expensive hotel rooms. I mean, it's not like he wasted the money. He enjoyed it, which is
morning.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
fault someone for Botox treatments? Because I
don't
think
no, exactly. I mean, I don't have the money for the actual Botox treatments. They're expensive. Yeah. So I need to use your money, which you've contributed quite generously, he's saying.
I mean,
what's that, Courtney?
I was going to say, skipping out on paying for your Botox comes up in our murder. I'm just saying, yeah.
Really?
We're
Wow.
going to have a callback.
yes, it comes full circle. Oh my goodness. So you guys thought this whole 13 point whatever percent PG&E increase was excessive? Here's the Waimanalo Reservoir in Hawaii. It turns out that today the Honolulu Board of Water Supply will vote on a potential rate hike of more than 50%. The agency's board of directors could approve a new 5.5-year water rate schedule that would phase in higher rates instead of having it take effect all at once. Congratulations, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Intuit is adding generative AI-powered tax prep features to TurboTax. Yeah, everybody who used TurboTax, you'll also be using AI. The Mountain View-based company will unveil the new AI-enhanced version of its popular tax prep software November 30th. Human assistance in English and Spanish remains available for TurboTax Live customers. Everybody else, AI for you.
I used to do the TurboTax voiceover I think it was last year. Yeah, it was like a kind of a flat read, like, did you know TurboTax will do your taxes for free? It's kind of a read like that. It sounds like that. And it was two guys doing spit takes at each other. It was sort of a weird television campaign, but it was really a big campaign. So I was very happy to have it. But they didn't call me this year, Kim. I don't know what happened. But.
Well, suddenly when you did that voice like that, I kind of remember that commercial.
Oh, yeah. It ran all the time. It ran during, sports. It ran during prime time. Yeah, it was a really great campaign.
Well, that's excellent. I hope you made a buttload of money off that.
I
Mark
did
Thompson.
okay, but I've got a chill down my spine when I see the TurboTax logo like that, knowing that they didn't call me for another run.
What?
Yes.
You have iced out Mark Thompson. I almost said Mike. Look at that. Neuralink is raising another $43 million in funding. Elon Musk's brain implant startup previously raised $280 million in venture capital. In May, the FDA approved human clinical trials for implantable computer chips. Speaking of Elon Musk, he went to Israel today to look at you say kibbutz or kibbutz? Kibbutz?
A kibbutz, I believe.
Kibbutz. Yeah, because of all of his
I think they kibitz
featuring
about stuff on kibbutzes is what I understand.
Is that what happens? Okay.
Because kibbutz means like to, chat about stuff or whatever. So you're kibitzing. That's what
Okay.
you do socially. But you could do it on a kibbutz. So you'd kibitz on the kibbutz. So
Well,
anyway.
that works out really well, I think. Yeah.
No, not doing Neuralink, though. The Neuralink thing is still
No.
up there. Okay.
But no, I was going to mention that Elon Musk is in Israel. He's meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, took a tour of a kibbutz attacked as part of that mass assault by Hamas October 7th. He heard from an IDF spokesperson about killings. He heard stories of some recently freed hostages taken by Hamas. All of this because of what is underway on X, which is a rise of anti-Semitism and some of his own comments as well. So he's getting a firsthand look. We'll see if it changes his mind or changes him at all. Of course, today is Cyber Monday, but Black Friday apparently was pretty successful. Sales in the United States topped $9.8 billion. That, according to a report from Adobe Analytics, sales were up 7.5% from last year. The report adds global Black Friday sales were nearly $71 billion.
Wow.
So,
I don't think a lot of people spilled over into the getmarkmerch.com area of Black Friday. I don't know what happened, everyone.
this is ridiculous. I mean, if anything you would want.
We have the exact, thank you, Kim. We have the throw pillows and the mugs.
I'm telling you.
And the tote bag. Courtney, is the tote bag not the greatest thing?
I love the tote bag.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, show a little Black Friday spillover, if you want, onto what is it? Today isn't today. It's Monday. It's
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Tomorrow's the Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So this could be a big couple of days for us. So far, hasn't worked out that way. But
well, maybe if you mention supporting the show every once in a while.
How dare you?
What?
How dare you? Who are you?
Lastly, I will say that it's a big day for Macaulay Culkin. He'll get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this week.
I love it.
The 43-year-old will be honored with a ceremony on Friday. And you know who's going to be there is Catherine O'Hara, who played his mom in the Home Alone movies in the 90s. She'll be there.
Very cool.
So that's cute.
Fantastic.
It is.
Yeah. So congratulations to Macaulay Culkin. That seems long overdue.
Okay. He's a very nice guy. I call him Mac. Not to drop a name, I'm just saying I call him Mac. Okay. The deal is that Mac could be it could be kind of a jerk. I mean, he's come up but he's not. He's not. He's very nice, and I sat next to him in a card game many times, and he's really cool. Big basketball fan, as I recall. So. Yeah, it was very.
Do you know who I am?
Okay.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I can. If I wanted to text him, I could. Maybe I will text him. Congratulations, Mac, on the star.
This report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. You can log into CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, as I did 3 times on Black Friday. Enter code MarkT at checkout for your 10% off, which I did, and it saves you a bit of money there, and that's excellent. Today, on the beginning of the 13 days of tea, I'll take a sip of this Earl Grey.
Earl Grey.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. That's nice. It's very mellow.
Alive tasting.
I know.
It's very calming. I would order this again. As a matter of fact, this is one of my daughter's favorites.
Wow.
And she loves it. She's become a huge fan of Coachella Valley tea.
Would you call it transcendent, Kim? Would you call it that?
Yes, I would call it pretty good. She loves
Yes. Oh, the Coachella Valley tea. Who knew?
Yes. So we'll see what we try tomorrow. My daughter loves the chai tea. She's been making her own chai tea lattes in the kitchen. So
wow.
Excellent. That is worth it.
Very cool.
Coachella Valley Coffee and Coachella Valley
There's never
tea
been anything like this.
can all be found at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Anything else to add?
Just that Tony's got the site up there. You should pick. There are a lot of tasting notes under everything. They give you a lot of information, so you should pick out the bean that's right for you.
Or the tea.
Or the tea, right. The chai tea blend. There it is. Tony's got it up there for you.
Spill the tea.
Yes, spill the tea. Very nice, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
That was really
good.
cool.
Chai tea blend. Yeah,
I
excellent.
think I'm the most honest human being perhaps that God ever created.
All right, yeah, just enough with that. Okay.
Our thanks to Coachella Valley Coffee. Mark T at checkout for your 10% off. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Right on, everybody.
I was like, what's going on there?
What's going on, man? I lost control. Storelink is broken. Wait a minute. What is this?
What?
Breaking news. Al Anonymous with a super chat that could be very relevant. First of all, big shout out for a super chat.
Big shout out.
Storelink is broken. Is .com instead of... Tony, can you check it? Is it getmarkmerch.com? Is that what you're talking about? Is it broken, Tony? Tony's
I'm
looking.
checking right now.
Yeah, Tony's on.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Well, we have to. There will be a slow reckoning. Do you not? Can you see it? Getmarkmerch.com.
No, I see everything fine. It says find
Everything's fine. Store link broken. It says is .com instead of.
Yeah, I just
No,
refreshed
it's
the
fine.
page.
It's fine.
So something
it's
happened.
.com instead of .com. Is that what you're? I don't know what you're.
No, it's not true. It's
It was.
.com.
I fixed it. It was earlier. To get to the Mark's Thompson show, it said .com instead of .com.
Oh, you're saying in the description of the show.
Fixed. Yeah, fixed.
I see.
Yeah, fixed.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
Got
This
it.
is very important. Who is to blame for that? Is that you, Tony?
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, it's Kim.
Kim, how are you?
All right. I just, on this show, blame is very important. And we know that most of the things that happen on this show, I'm blameless for. If there's a mistake, seldom am I to blame. But we know that it's probably somebody else on the staff, and, they will have their pay docked as a result. All right. It is
No
Monday.
wonder you got no hits on Black Friday. It's all my fault.
Sending them to .com. Jeez, what is going on with you?
It does seem like a prank or something.
Has no idea what they're doing.
It's a Freudian slip of the hand.
It's not that we're not being.
Couldn't have worked out any better.
The calls are coming from inside the house, is what I'm saying.
Why are you yelling?
Being sabotaged from inside.
That's a different Mark Thompson website.
Why are you yelling?
Oh my God! It's just I work so hard on this show, and then it's like a .com instead of .com because everybody's just kind of floating through it and just slamming it out.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do.
Good Lord, that's funny.
People were probably disappointed it didn't go to a .com website.
That's true.
Domain.
You're right. Come
you know
to think of it, they were looking for something else.
Yeah. So maybe that's better.
Oh my God.
How would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Well, we certainly can't do that now. We've done. All right, it's Monday. Let's do it. It's time for some true crime.
Welcome to Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
How about it for Courtney, everyone? She is the woman who I've pledged the rest of my life to. And so she is increasingly making the things that we do together more and more difficult. Now, you may say it's hardly difficult to go on a cruise. And that's what we're going to be doing next.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't really want to go on a 20-day cruise. So where are you going? South America?
We're going to Central and South America.
Central and South America.
And it's a 16-day cruise.
But why won't I be back in my home where I never really wanted to leave for 20 days or 21 days?
Well, you were so excited to be gone.
I like
the first flight out, Mark.
I like a week, 10 days, maybe.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Yeah. You know what I love?
What?
Is the months ahead talking about how horrible this trip is going to be.
It's true.
Really,
I've lowered expectations For so if it's anything,
just in general and on this trip.
Yes. Anyway, well, I adore you, and you adore true crime. So tell us what you have for us today.
Well, it's good to be back. I feel like we did Steve Gregory, and then it's been like a week or two. Yeah, so true. It's nice to be back. So, but today we're covering the Caitlin Armstrong murder. She murdered a fellow cyclist, Mo Wilson.
She murdered somebody?
She murdered somebody, and this happened in 2022, but she was just sentenced to 90 years a week or two ago.
Oh my God! And we're seeing a picture of her now.
Yes, so this is the murderer.
That's the murderer.
This is the murderer.
That
Caitlin.
attractive-looking girl.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. She's also the one that skipped out on her Botox bill. Yeah. So there was some sort of warrant already out for her after the murder happened when they
I love that
phone.
Small detail was included.
Yeah.
So, but let me just ask you then. Well, you're going to tell us.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, because I'm just curious how somebody who looks so happy and is so lovely could end up killing someone.
Tortured inside.
I guess.
Tortured inside.
Apparently.
Yeah. So this is Caitlin Armstrong. She's a professional cyclist. She murdered Mo Wilson. If you go down, yes. So this is Mo Wilson. She is also a professional cyclist. And they were both kind of dating the same guy. He had been in a long-term relationship with Caitlin, and they had broken up, and then he had dated Mo, and then they just decided to be friends, and then he was back dating Caitlin. But Caitlin, this might come as a surprise, but was a little jealous.
I see.
About the whole situation. And I think in many ways, she kept trying to figure out what the nature of the relationship was because Colin was still talking to Mo, but never admitted to being in any sort of intimate relationship with Mo, even though he was previously.
I see.
And so Caitlin gets very upset about this and is very jealous at this relationship that Colin has with Mo. So on the night of May 11th in 2022, Mo is in town in Austin, Texas for a race. And that is where Caitlin and Colin live. And so Mo is going to do this race, and Colin goes over to the house that Caitlin's staying at, Mo is staying at. Can you go down? Yep. So this is the apartment that Mo is staying at. She's staying with friends. Colin goes, he picks up Mo. They go to a public pool to go swimming, as one does, and then has dinner. And then Colin drops Mo off at this apartment, but doesn't wait to make sure that Mo goes into the apartment safely. He takes off, which doesn't come as a surprise, right? This guy is maybe not being completely a gentleman or honest, and what had happened is Caitlin was following them around. So she was tailing them. Colin was lying about what he was doing. He was saying he was dropping flowers off at a friend's house and doing other errands when in fact he was with Mo the whole time.
Well, I mean, let me just speak to a little bit of lying to the ex or whatever. Or is it? She was not really the ex. She was he was
I think
seeing
they
her.
were kind of seeing each other, but they had formed too much of their life together almost because they were living together and they had multiple businesses together, so it was harder to, exercise sort of the relationship.
I just seems to me sometimes if you know that she's a little bit like the mayor of Crazyville, which it sounds like she really is, she's about to you be identified as a murderer, you may want not to mention the other woman just because she'll overreact to it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I
all right, but anyway, it appears that maybe he was having a dalliance with the other woman as well.
And he had put Mo's name under someone else's name in his phone because he was trying to hide this friendship that he had with Mo, which was being just interpreted in a different way by Caitlin. So Mo goes into the apartment. Caitlin follows her, and what they have is an audio of a ring cam from a neighbor where you can hear, it's awful, you can hear Mo screaming, and then you can hear 3 gunshots.
Wow.
Mo was shot twice in the head and once in the chest, in the heart.
Gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah. And then a ring cam, I don't know if it's the same, captures Caitlin driving off away from the scene of the crime.
Oh my gosh. So
in
they really
black
have her.
Cherokee Jeep.
Wow.
Yes. So they had her there, and I don't know actually how Caitlin got into the house. That I'm unclear about. So The police are called. Most friends come home to the apartment. They find her shot. They try to resuscitate her. They're not able to do that. The police question everybody. They question Caitlin, and there's some issue where they let her go. And in that time that they let Caitlin go just after the murder, she flies to New York. She grabs her sister's passport, and then out of New Jersey, she flies to Costa Rica. So this is Caitlin at the airport.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
By the way, she stayed there longer than 16 days.
It did.
Yeah.
She didn't think of taking a 20-day cruise. That would have worked also.
No, it would have been more torturous. She flies to Costa Rica.
Wow.
This is her sister's passport.
So is her sister complicit in this or not? Complicit's a dang word.
It sounds as much. At some point, her sister gave her passport. Who knows? I am not as clear on the culpability of the sister. But she flies to Costa Rica, and because she uses her sister's passport, the police are not able to find her for 43 days. And so Caitlin is in Costa Rica for 43 days. She's at a place called Don John's Bar. It's a hostel, basically, in Costa Rica. And if you go to the next slide, she's sleeping in what might be my idea of torture, which is a communal bedroom and bathroom.
Yeah, you're the queen. You're the queen of being a queen.
Yeah, the plan might seem like it's going to work out until that would be suggested.
But I will say, let me just say this about that. I mean, it's kind of a good plan to then put yourself in a group of people like that. I mean, you can lose yourself more easily in a group like that, in a hostel, right?
No, it's true. And I think she, as you mentioned, was off and had bizarre behaviors and a little bit kept to herself. But, Mark, what she did, in addition to running away to Costa Rica, she sold her Jeep before she left. So she took the $12,000 that she made from CarMax and she sold it under market value to get out of there. And she bought herself some plastic surgery.
Oh!
Yeah.
Well.
Yep.
So she didn't waste the money.
No. I mean, well, she just... Mark. I'm not sure it was to improve her looks.
No, you're saying she did it to change her look.
She did it to change her looks.
Yes, I understand.
So
I always support plastic surgery at any time.
So this is Caitlin on the left, and that's Caitlin on the right as she's apprehended.
Wow, it does look like a different person.
It does look like a different person.
They did a good job.
They did.
What do you say to the doctor who does that? What are you looking for? Something a little less than that? I'm looking for just to look different. Anything you want to do, go ahead, mark me up, and let's get it going, buddy. Put me under. Carve me up. It actually worked, though.
I mean, to be a fly on the wall in that consultation. But yes, that was, she cut her hair, she had plastic surgery
Kim, that's
done.
a good job she did to change her look.
That's an excellent job. Look at her chin. Her chin is shorter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She had a nose job. I see it right away in the chin.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow,
if you were going to go through facial recognition at an airport, that might not come back as you.
No, it's true.
I got to say that I like the name of this surgeon in Costa Rica. I think he does good work.
You're in luck because when they found her passport, they also found her receipt for the plastic surgery. Because when she was apprehended, she still had bandages and black eyes, and she was saying that she got into a surfing accident, as one might in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But in fact, it was all plastic surgery to avoid being caught.
Aaron says that a prison makeover would be a good show. That's exactly right. It would be a good show. Change your look, forget your past.
It's true. So the police catch up to her. They did some sort of random search because when they were looking for her name to see if she had escaped the country, it did not come up. But then when they looked for her sister's name, they found a flight to Costa Rica. And that's, in fact, how they figured out that that's what she was.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is the apprehension in Costa Rica, if you're following along.
So I'm sorry. So just review for me the way they found her in Costa Rica, despite the plastic surgery, despite the hostel where she was staying. They found her through...
I'm actually not exactly clear how they found her at John John's. I just know how they figured out that she was in Costa Rica.
I see. Okay.
It could have been that they were calling around if she's checking into places under Caitlin Armstrong.
Once they know she's in Costa Rica, it probably is not as hard.
It's actually, I think now they've done it, but for some time they weren't releasing the name that she was using on her passport. But then the hostel in Costa Rica took pictures of both of the passports and published them. So then it was out that she had been using her sister's passport.
Gosh.
Yep.
It was a good plan. It was actually a really good plan. She is fiendishly and from the standpoint of just pure evil, very clever, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
She's a villainous beauty is what she is.
It's weird because Colin had bought them both guns. As you might for a holiday gift, you're thinking.
Wait a minute,
if you haven't been able to go to markmerch.com.
Boyfriend bought them both guns?
Yeah, he bought himself and Caitlin guns, and that's the gun that she used.
God.
Now, I don't know how long it was premeditated. I do know that people had asked her if Colin stepped out on you, if there were issues, what would you do? And she, of course, said, kill that woman. And then unfortunately that came to life, but it's unclear to me how much she had been premeditating this. It does seem like also a crime of opportunity because Mo was in town for this race, but yeah, she had things figured out. She had an escape plan. And so they capture her in Costa Rica. They extradite her here to the US. She's arraigned on July 21st, 2022. And then on October 12th, she actually escapes from officers. So she gets taken to a doctor's appointment and she runs. She runs for the hills. She gets about a block away before the cops catch her again.
Wow.
But she was footing it
Man.
pretty quickly. Yeah. And then the case went to trial on October 30th. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, and on November 16th of 2023, she was found guilty and sentenced to 90 years in prison.
So this just happened.
Yeah.
She begins her 90 years.
Yes.
She doesn't look as charming and...
the veneers come off. Yeah.
Well, once it all, in the courtroom shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite.
It's not the same. It's not the same lighting either, really.
And I have
the lighting's terrible.
She's a real baddie, says digitally.
There's actually also a picture, if you can, Tony. There's a guy, I think his name's Teal. He's really funny. He's totally,
that guy?
Sounds like he's been using the Amish cannabis in every single interview. And he started dating her. Now, she has not, there's 43 days she was caught. So maybe she's dating him in the first 3 weeks of being on the lam. Like, that just seems ambitious and strange.
I support it.
It was great. I loved it. She was also unwilling to be with him in public places. So she would make him go to these sort of remote areas, which I would say as a woman is everything you're told not to do. Right, is try to go into random remote places with men you've just met. But that is in fact something that she was doing, was dating just after escaping to Costa Rica.
90 years she got. And Chris reminds us, Chris is always a buzzkill. Chris says 90 years of taxpayer expense, Mark. Oh my, yeah. So we should let her go, Chris, you think, because she murdered somebody? We don't want to expend the 90 years on her. Is that what you're saying? I didn't say that, Mark. Just saying. I know, I like to give Chris a hard time because he gives me a hard time. So this is interesting. Jason says, this is a general question for you as sort of an expert in true crime area.
That's
why
generous.
is it that victims of adultery are usually more angry at, quote, the other than their partner? I've never understood that.
I don't understand it either. Yeah. It's a strange thing, and actually it's a really good question. Some of the podcasters who are even more expert than myself, they were asking the same thing, like, why is the woman always mad at the other woman? I mean, the partner participated, facilitated, created the opportunity, your romantic partners, so why are you taking it out on the other party? I do know that Colin had also been in hiding. He was very concerned for his own life. So, maybe he knew that, she just killed Mo and then was going to have retribution on him as well.
Oh, that's very interesting, actually. So he could very much have been her next victim.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
I also think, if I can offer this last bit on your, this has been a really interesting story, actually, and it just resolved like 10 days ago.
Yes.
I think the feeling is I want him or her for myself. So I'm going to get rid of the other thing that's an impediment to having him or her for myself. In this case, it's a him. I'm going to get rid of her because that lovely woman, Mariah Wilson, I'm going to get, is that her name?
Yeah, she goes by Mo, but yes,
Mo
it's
Wilson.
Mariah.
Yeah. I'm going to get rid of her because she's the impediment to me being with him. So if you kill him, you don't, you don't satisfy the need that you have to be with the person.
Sense.
So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a very strange thing. I mean, clearly there were issues.
Yeah.
Very much prior to this unfortunate and horrible situation, but
on the way out, I will share with you a couple of reactions. We talk about affairs of the heart.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned, how can someone so lovely that, Caitlin looks so beautiful? How can she be so evil? People said, Mark, please don't focus on the superficial, but look at Andrew. Andrew says, I think both women need glasses. The dude they were going out with is a nerdy-looking idiot, he says, Andrew. Wow.
He's,
I could see, Andrew continues, if he looked like Brad Pitt or George Clooney, but this dude she killed for is butt ugly, Andrew. Wow, he's not Andrew's style at all. And then Julie points out, friends with ex.
It's okay to kill for a guy who's good looking, but not one who's a little
if he'd
nerdy.
been more handsome, it would have been more justifiable.
Yeah.
Julie says friends with exes never works. However, it doesn't call for murder. No.
If any guy called me and asked me to go to a public pool, that is not an option ever.
John,
not happening.
John says
Courtney
it really
has high
upsets him, the whole
standards.
story, because John is an avid cyclist, and he feels this makes the cycling community look bad.
Well, actually, Mo, it turns out, had connections to San Francisco, right?
Oh, wow.
She had lived there. She was big in the San Francisco cyclist community. And so when she died, there was this outpouring of grief in the Bay Area for her. And this story was front page on the Chronicle for a while.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Good knowledge.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Ecuador is the place to go, says Champagne Wishes. Hey, we're going to Ecuador.
We're going to Ecuador.
We're going to Ecuador.
So if anything happens, you've got 4 hours off of the ship to just run for the hills.
If something happens, just remember, God, Mark didn't even want to take that trip, and now look what's happened.
If you push him overboard, just make sure you have your sister's passport. Get the name of that doctor. You're good to go.
I mean, she's an expert. There's no getting away with it.
I know, it's true.
Watch out, Mark.
We've been trying to figure out what we were going to do in each port, so it seems like we've got Ecuador figured out.
Yeah. Courtney, very well done. Loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
That is our true crime visit for today. Courtney, everyone.
Yeah.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Wow. Really liked it. Man.
It was good.
That was really good, Courtney. She brought it. Mm-hmm. Courtney's working on a lot of stuff, so we can't have her every week. But when she shows up, man, she brings the heat. I love it. Kim's News, we've got a lot to do. Tony, I think I may start with you on the staff holiday greetings. You think you could cobble something together? You're kind of naturally shy, and you kind of don't particularly like the limelight.
Thanks, Tony. I'll try. I'll do what I can. Maybe I'll type into ChatGPT and see what it comes up with.
Yeah, tap into ChatGPT. That's a very good thought. It'll be just a little thing like we'll have a little, jingle in the background, like something holiday, and then you'll just, it'll be like this. This is it.
Okay.
You see, okay, and you'll say, "Hi, I'm Tony with the Mark Thompson Show, and I just want to wish everybody." It's that kind of thing. You think you can do it?
All right, I'll try. I'm sorry in advance.
All right.
How about that?
I'm sorry in advance. Smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron rod.
Kim's News will update the Middle East situation, and we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. A new supply chain council aims to improve America's logistics. The White House announcing today that President Biden is establishing what will formally be called the White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience. The new group will be co-chaired by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and National Economic Advisor Lael Brainerd, with the first ever meeting today. Bit of history here. Meta's spokesperson Andy Stone is on Russia's wanted list. The action coming after the Kremlin recently added Meta to a list of terrorists and extremists, and a Russian court ordered the arrest of Stone in absentia for aiding terrorism. Meta's social media platforms were recently banned in that country. Oh. It appears California is not very safe for people riding a bicycle. It now ranks 4th deadliest in the nation. A personal injury lawyer analyzed data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He found the state had more than 10,000 total road deaths between 2017 and 2021. 712 of them were cyclists. A spokesperson cites several reasons like weather, the number of vehicles, and driver behavior as well. Beware before, slicing into a cantaloupe for breakfast. California is now among 32 states dealing with a salmonella outbreak.
What?
So far, there's only been one case of someone getting really sick. The two brands have issued recalls here for the whole fruit, not the package of it cut up, but for the whole fruit. Officials say look for the labels Malachita or Rudy, sold between October 10th and November 3rd. Also, Malachita/X Farms, sold between October 31st and November 9th.
So if you get it, you should, salmonella is nasty, right? It can...
Chuck it. Just chuck it. It's not worth it.
Just get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Elon Musk is ready to launch another rocket from his South Texas starbase. The billionaire posted on his social media site that the third SpaceX prototype will be ready to fly in 3 to 4 weeks. And that could mean a blast off right before Christmas. But all launches have again been suspended pending an FAA investigation into the flight that happened earlier this month. The Starship exploded over the Gulf of Mexico. So first, let's figure that one out before you send up another one, Elon, okay?
But as I've said to you before, Elon runs the show. They can say they're doing an investigation, they can do whatever. He will run the show, and he will tell you, when the investigation is done, what it's revealed, whether it's dangerous. He is the boss. He's the boss of the United States of America. He is.
I don't think so.
Of his stuff. Oh, yeah. Of it. Well, you look at, they're trying to bring him to terms with a tax bill. They're trying to talk about possible repercussions of hate speech on his platform. They can't do anything to him. They just re-signed a bunch of contracts with Elon Musk for SpaceX, the very thing you're talking about. So when you talk about we're going to do an investigation, if we don't like it, we're going to put it, no. You'll do the investigation, and I'll tell you what will be done in terms of the investigation and its repercussions. He did the same thing in the Bay Area with the Fremont plant.
Yep.
There were all these accusations of, first of all, he defied all the COVID orders. Then there were all these accusations of racism within the plant. And he just flipped everybody the bird, kept doing what he was doing, threatened to move out, did move out some stuff. Sorry, Elon runs the show. He's way too big.
Lastly, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are moving to Los Angeles. They could be your neighbors. According to TMZ, the couple who currently live in Montecito in Santa Barbara County have given up looking at properties in Malibu, and they plan to shop in different neighborhoods of Los Angeles. Privacy and security top priorities, of course. The couple lived in Los Angeles briefly in 2020 when they stayed at a mansion owned by Tyler Perry. Harry says they have lived there completely undetected for 6 weeks. He says even his family thought they were in Canada. Nope, Los Angeles.
Well,
where the celebrities blend in.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
I wish for all of us the kind of relationship that has our lovely bride looking at us the way she looks at him in this picture. It's so beautiful. Look at it. Right there on the red carpet. Oh, it's so romantic, those two royals.
This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore, home of the "Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio?" and the "Why are you yelling?" red, which is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Oh, yeah.
So good.
The "Why are you yelling?"
Don't ever use that word.
No.
You're looking for maybe some wine to serve with the holiday meal or parties that you're going to, or maybe gifts. I'm telling you that "Why are you yelling?" red is the way to go.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So get your 10% off. We've got it just for the Mark Thompson Show listener. You call Rich at 925-699-4576, and you say just like this.
Smash it!
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Thank
Smash it with your iron rod.
And then he gives you your 10% off, and away you go with your
So you're
case
telling
of
me
"Why
I
are
get
you
10%
yelling?"
off
red.
at everything. I can order a case.
Yeah.
I can order an afternoon at Livermore, in the Livermore Valley with
that's
Tenuta.
right.
10% off everything.
You can go to one of their events, like the grape stomp they held earlier during the harvest.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
I can hold my own grape stomp. He's going to give me 10% off.
He says everything.
All
10% off.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Go for it, I say.
Yep. And they also do events there, really nice events. So they have an outdoor area, they have an indoor area where you can have a conference or a team building exercise with your office or whatever. Lots of fun place to have a party there. So yeah, it's good stuff. Tenuta Vineyards at tenutawinery.com, I believe is tenutawinery.com. And again, smash it with your iron rod to get your 10% off. I'm Kim McAllister. I do too. I love that you have your own wine. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that?
The Mark Thompson Show.
I really miss him. I miss that simple-minded authoritarian attitude that Donald Trump had. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like if your 9-year-old had been made president. It was sort of like there's a little bit of that, but you throw in a heavy sex drive and like bent on revenge and control of the military, and you've got yourself the Trump administration.
My 9-year-old could do a better job.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I do want to catch up with our, these are the comments that are coming in live. And of course, we encourage you to comment after the show as well. We do read all comments. And first, my Coachella Valley coffee, vanilla tea is really delicious and velvety smooth tasting, says Dan. Right. Love it. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, the stuff's great. I mean, it really is great. So congrats on that. I also noted that there is pushback from Delwood on my comments about Elon Musk. Go Elon, he says, leading the world in space, but Mark ignores his valuable leadership. I've told you before, I don't ignore it. I've registered the fact that he has done some important things. I think the space part is problematic. It is both a positive because he is doing things and launching communication satellites and various important technology into space. But the other thing I would say is really the governments of the world should be doing that. I think when you allow a private citizen, and that's what Elon Musk is. I mean, I would suggest to you respectfully, Delwood, you've lost track of, or you've ignored the fact that he's a private citizen in control of a lot. In fact, NASA has pulled back completely. Now you have essentially the commercialization of space through almost exclusively SpaceX. So, I mean, I respect what you're saying because I think you're giving him credit for a lot of stuff that he might have made some positive waves on. I mean, I'll put in that category Tesla, which I think did accelerate the use of electric cars, and those electric vehicles are great. He didn't invent Tesla, as you know, but as CEO, I think he really brought it forward. Okay, so let's just talk about his accomplishments, and I'll get to who he is in a second. And I promise I'll do this all in like less than 90 seconds. But all I do want to say about Elon Musk is that a lot of the promise of his technologies is just that. It's promise. It's a lot of investment from the outside, and some of it has come to bear, and some of it has come to fruition, but some of it hasn't. So if you really look at the Boring Company and you look at some of the other holdings he has that you might give him credit for as breakthrough technologies, yes and no. And my point with Elon Musk really wasn't about whether or not he was good about all this stuff, the valuable leadership and all this sort of thing that you suggest. And my point was he's just really gained too much power. You have no ability to push back on this guy. That was my point. I mean, we have really the inmates running the asylum. You have total capture, regulatory capture on the part of Elon Musk. He controls the very instruments of government that are to regulate him. That's called regulatory capture, and Elon Musk is center, front row, courtside seats for that. He's got it. So that was my point about Elon Musk. And the Neuralink is, I still think it's a horror what goes on in those labs. I'll just put it that way. Nobody's forcing the government to use Musk's company for booster rockets. Right. Nobody's forcing the government except for the fact that the government uses him because he's available. It's like saying
cheaper, probably, right?
Well, yeah. The technology is already in place. To ramp up would be extraordinarily expensive. It's like saying nobody's forcing the government to use Jeff Bezos's cloud storage for the Pentagon. Yeah, nobody's forcing it. It's a government contract. That's the way the government works. They contract with private industry on certain things. I'm suggesting that you shouldn't put all your communication satellites and military satellites in control of someone like Musk, who is so very powerful. Musk not following COVID rules at his Fremont plant was a California issue, Mark. Why didn't California state leadership choose to do something? Randy, you're right. California didn't. Why? See point A that I'm making. He's too powerful. I would suggest that's the reason. Meghan and Harry. Meghan is the Yoko Ono of the royal family. Maybe. She does look so adoring at him, says Julie. And what is this? I saw Tony making an uncredited appearance, a cameo appearance on Stephanie Miller's show last week. Is that right, Tony?
What? I was rebuilding the studio. We had to fix some volume issues because I'm the one who built the studio. You know,
so you are the one who built that studio. You're amazing.
Me and one other guy, but basically, we built it in 2 weeks.
And so you're making appearances.
I'm fixing a problem right now, actually, and then I'm in contact with Westwood One, and we're fixing a problem. So that's why I was there.
You're a big deal. And Pinky, shout out!
Big shout out!
Big shout out to Pinky for $1 a day. Thank you for the super stickers. Super stickers, super chats are live. Love our Pink, and love all of you for supporting the show. If you want to become a Patreon or PayPal member, you know what? You can go to themarkthompsonshow.com, and there are click-throughs to help us out. Yeah, Newsom made some noise about Fremont, but didn't do anything. That's exactly right. It's funny, every time you mention Elon, it's just like, wow.
They did take down that plant for a while. They said, if you don't put the masks in place, you got to close down. And so it was closed for a while.
But it wasn't a long while, was it? It was literally less than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in any case, all right.
And then he got all pissed off and moved to Texas, right?
Yeah. Well, he didn't move everything. He left the plant in Fremont, but he moved his the home offices. Yeah. And that's the big fear, that he's going to take his ball and go home. So again, Musk, complicated figure. And the last thing, and I didn't really get to it, is he's a hate monger. Okay. He forwards anti-Semitic crap, and his platform has become increasingly filled with cesspool-like hate. And for that, I cannot forgive him. So, I mean, I think that's the real guy that you're seeing. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. I promised you, before I get to Tony's holiday greeting, news of the United States of guns. It is true. This word from NBC News. Gun ownership reaching a record high with the American electorate. More than half of American voters, 52%, say they or someone in their household owns a gun. And this is more gun ownership since they started asking this question back in 1999. In 2019, 46% of Americans said that they or someone in their household owned a gun. And in February of 2013, that share was 42%. In the last 10 years, we've grown 10 points in gun ownership. Micah Roberts of Public Opinion Strategies, a Republican polling firm that co-conducted the poll with members of the Democratic polling firm of Hart Research, says, by and large, things don't change that dramatically, that quickly, when it comes to something as fundamental as whether or not you own a gun. And gun ownership does fall along what? Partisan lines. It has for years. 66% of Republican voters surveyed said they or someone in their household owns a gun, while just 45% of independents and 41% of Democrats say the same. White voters tend to own guns at higher rates than black or Latino voters, but gun ownership rates among black voters has jumped in recent years. In August of 2019, 53% of white voters said that they or someone in their household owned a gun, and only 24% of black voters said the same. This month, 56% of white voters report that they or someone in their household owns a gun. Okay, so that's up 3%. And 41% of black voters say the same. That's a 17-point increase in black voters and gun ownership. It also, this poll measures attitudes about gun rights. Almost half, 48%, say they are more concerned that the government will not do enough to regulate access to firearms, versus 47% who believe the government will go too far in restricting gun rights. That's pretty consistent on how that question has worked out through the years. Meantime, there's this. Because of the accident on the set of Rust, Hollywood is being forced to make choices on guns. Do you use real guns on a set? Obviously, the gun that was involved with the Rust killing was a real gun. Or do you use replicas of guns? Do you use blank fire or special effects? So Hollywood is wrestling with this.
What do you think? I would say special effects.
Oh, my God, yes. I would not have a real gun on the set.
No.
I mean, this is insane. You have an A-list actor in Alec Baldwin who shot and killed somebody with a gun that was because, and we detailed that, I thought, for you very well, because we also had contacts in a lot of those productions that are working in New Mexico, I think it is. And these are low-cost productions, and
it's just not worth it.
Virtually all the money goes to the actors and above-the-line talent. Yeah. So there's nobody watching the props and your armor. They're essentially all wrapped up into one person. The head of props on Walker, the TV revival about a gun-toting Texas Ranger, was planning for a scene in which a woman points a revolver at a captive when a new set of orders arrived. Real guns would no longer be used in this production of Walker. That was right after the fatal shooting on the set of Rust in New Mexico, when Alec Baldwin had been rehearsing with what turned out to be a live bullet in the chamber. So the mood around guns on the Walker set apparently had become tentative already. Its producers had decided they would stop using real firearms, which they, like many other productions, apparently use, Kim, they use these for close-ups and a few occasions for blank fire, they say. But they're now going to, at least on the set of Walker, use fully replica guns, including rubber guns, gas-powered guns. In the 2 years since the Rush shooting took the life of the cinematographer Hal Hutchins, a divide has emerged in Hollywood over the use of real firearms and film and TV sets, film and TV sets. And some productions, like Walker, as I say, have moved to ban them. but many other productions continue to use them. They say real guns look more convincing, and they get more authentic reactions from actors when used to fire blanks. It's wild. You'd think it would be a no-brainer. But I guess what they're saying is that as an actor, when you fire a real gun, the reaction you have on the set is different than if it's a prop gun. They're looking at broader changes. You know, one of the problems here and one of the realities here is insurance. Your insurance numbers go way down if you don't have live ammunition on the set, right? And so as Hollywood becomes increasingly concerned with costs, one of the cost-cutting things you can do is to not use live ammunition or even have real guns anywhere on the set. When was the last time they had guidelines about firearms on the set? When do you think, how often does Hollywood revise these guidelines? I mean, probably not annually, every couple of years?
Probably when something happens, right? Every time there's an incident, then we have to revise.
The last time they revised the firearm guidelines on Hollywood sets was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just wrong. And in California, they are looking to actually put legislation in place. There is a law that was signed by Gavin Newsom in July, and it will require productions that get industry tax credits to have safety advisors to look at firearm usage as well as to require firearms training for people handling guns on the set. So there's some big changes coming as a result of what happened on that set of Rust.
Don't you think with now technology as good as it is, with AI, with all the magic that they can do in post-production, that it just makes sense that, it can look authentic if we need it to. Why there's so many guns in movies is a whole other story. But if they need it to look authentic, it can in post-production. You don't have to have a real gun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I will give you a quote from someone just to try to represent the other side. Using blank fire enhances the story's narrative. This is from the guy who's a veteran armorer and oversaw, for example, the blank firing of guns on the set of Killers of the Flower Moon. Okay, that's a movie out now, Scorsese film. If used properly, it's utterly safe. It provides realism and gives the actors something to respond to. So that's what they're thinking. I'm kind of with you, and I would have said, there are just so many guns in movies, and we grow up with them, right? It's the bad guy, the good guys, they're in the shooting it out. But it's interesting, Dwayne Johnson, isn't he The Rock?
The Rock.
Yeah. He has produced, action films. There have been a lot of firearms in them. He has pledged to stop using operable guns, saying, we're not going to worry about how it might affect visual effects costs. We're just going to do it, and we're not going to use real guns. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to be using real guns on set, said a visual effects producer. And she's worked on Ben Affleck's Hypnotic, which included a final shootout scene with gunfire that was entirely computer-generated, to Kim's point. So, again, accidents are considered rare, but the Rust accident has gotten the entire industry to reconsider things. So that's where we sit on firearms on the set.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'd like to get a news capsule, what's going on, the hostage release, and more. And then we'll get into a conversation about animals. It is Monday. Karen Dawn comes through and shares information about animals, stuff we might not know, stuff we should know. And we'll get into that as well. Tony, we still haven't done your holiday greeting. I feel as though I've been, I hope we don't run out of time.
You want me to just do one story? I'll do one story, then you can go to Tony and then Karen.
Oh, Tony, she's not helping you out. I love that.
It's okay.
I just have one story that I must share, honestly.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is their new host.
Okay, they're going to get you one way or the other. Smash the like button like a boss, if you would. Smash
it with your iron rod.
A thumbs up. It costs you nothing, and it helps us in the algorithms of YouTube. Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Okay, 2 stories. How about that? 11 more hostages have now been released by Hamas as part of a temporary truce with Israel. Qatari officials said the 4th group of freed hostages does not include any Americans. Earlier today, though, the White House confirmed the ceasefire agreement has been extended for 2 more days after it was originally set to expire at midnight Eastern. And the other story I wanted to tell you, this is a doozy. A Southwest Airlines passenger is being evaluated at a hospital after exiting through a plane's emergency exit hatch at a Louisiana airport over the weekend. Happened on the Skyway while the plane wasn't moving at the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport. Officials say this man climbed onto the plane's wing before being caught on the tarmac. How this happens, I don't know. Not clear what prompted the passenger to open the emergency exit. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office said no criminal charges have been filed. The investigation has been referred to federal authorities.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they hadn't even taken off, right? It was on the tarmac.
It was on the tarmac, though. I mean, come on.
You're supposed to stay in your seat.
That's
Come on.
crazy.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is he induced some panic, and here's why. Because I saw the video. It was suggested that before he ran out the exit, he had left something on the plane. And so that, everybody on the plane thought, oh, my God, he's left something on the plane. It's going to explode. It's going to, whatever. And that became the reason that there was mass panic, is that everybody's trying to get off the plane as well.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so there are out there some viral videos of it. Nothing very good that I could see, otherwise I would have shared it with you. But
because we said we'd do the story, I'm going to toss it out there because I know we're running short on time.
We're fine.
There is a Disneyland guest facing charges after stripping naked nudie on the It's a Small World ride.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
Local authorities escorted the guest off the Anaheim, California property Sunday afternoon. Disneyland resort officials told Deadline the guest got off the ride while it was in motion, and park operators stopped it when they found out about the situation. Videos and photos on social media show the guest without clothes walking through the sets, giving a little love to the animatronic singers.
No.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
I don't know. There's a lot to see, apparently.
People were yelling at him, don't do that. Get back on the boat. Anaheim police.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
No, it is unprecedented. I've never it was a Small World?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really wrong at Small World.
That's a big ride for little kids,
Exactly, Kim. Thank you.
You've never seen anything like it before.
No, exactly. I look forward to the cops got him. The Anaheim cops took him in.
They charged him with indecent exposure and being under the influence of a controlled substance. What is the substance? We don't know. I don't know.
My lunch that there's alcohol.
I think it's worse than alcohol. I don't think it's pure alcohol.
Small World is not the ride to go high on. No way. That is a hellscape.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I don't think it's weed. I'm telling you, it feels like it's something else, but I don't know.
That's a fun story, though. You get back from Thanksgiving break and people say, oh, how was your trip to Disneyland? Well, let me tell you what happened on the Small World. Never been anything like that.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
In the
That's
history
a new
of Small
one.
World, nothing like that.
That's something you never forget. This report is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you for support, and we can't thank you enough. Please find us at themarkthompsonshow.com, C-O-M. The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's get the spelling right, please, Kim.
And then you will find the PayPal and the Patreon information, as well as a link, which I clicked and it does work, to the Mark Thompson merchandise site, as well as the podcast and a host of other things as well. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir. If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at? This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word.
You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Seriously, what the
Love that everybody's here on this ramp up to the holidays. You know, Tony, you may catch a huge break here because we're going to visit with Karen Dawn. I don't think we'll have time for your greeting today.
Oh, there's time. We've got 2 minutes. Let's do it.
But I think you'll be back with us tomorrow, won't you, Tony?
Yeah.
Are you back on tomorrow?
I don't know. I feel a little sick.
Thanks, Tony.
You may have to do your greeting tomorrow. It gives you time to think about it.
Yeah.
If anybody has some suggestions as to what Tony might want to include in his pre-holiday remarks, we're all doing them. You can send them to me, and I will push them on to Tony, the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Now, how about it? She keeps us posted on all things in the animal kingdom. She is Karen Dawn, the editor and creator of Dawn Watch. Hi, Karen.
Hello, hello.
Oh, you're
I'll have to tune in tomorrow.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm taking advantage of at least one decent day of weather in Austin.
All right. Well, we love having you here. You have a story that, like many animal stories, has gotten a little bit of oxygen, media oxygen, right? I wonder if you could share it with us.
Yep, absolutely. It broke originally in the San Diego Tribune when some activists in Arizona who were supposed to be acquiring some small animals, which is guinea pigs, rabbits, rats, mice generally, who were supposed to be coming in from the San Diego Humane Society to the Humane Society of Southern Arizona. Those animals couldn't be located anywhere. And a little follow-up, and they found that the animals had been transferred to some reptile breeders, and it was looking as if they had been used as reptile feed, either frozen or, and that's the story there, either frozen or fed live. And this first hit the San Diego Union Tribune, and then it certainly got some legs on the internet, and it appeared in yesterday's New York Times. So I thought I'd bring it to everybody's attention today. It's an interesting story in that, on first glance, it's pretty distressing to think that here were these 250 animals who were at the Humane Society hoping to be saved, and that they ended up as reptile feed. I had a letter published about this in the San Diego Union Tribune, which I've sent you guys along, and I'd love you, Mark, if you read it, it'll sound much better than if anybody else reads it. It'll have all that power, so I'll let you read out what I had to say about this.
All right,
You don't mind?
I will be happy to do that. Let me just get it for you here. Because I had the I had the Times piece.
You had the article up. Sorry.
Yeah. No, hang on a second. Oh, and you've sent a couple of. Oh, I see it. Okay, now this way. So this is from Karen. She wrote this to the editor, and missing pets should make people think. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Here it is.
Yeah.
Everybody can read along with me. Hundreds of Humane Society pets ended up with men linked to a reptile breeder. Now animal advocates want accountability. And now here's what you wrote. The sorrowful fate of the small animals who were transferred from the San Diego Humane Society to Arizona and apparently ended up as reptile food should be food for thought for anybody who thinks it might be cool to have a pet snake. Not only does that choice deprive the snake of any kind of decent life, it deprives hundreds or even thousands of other sentient beings of their lives. Yeah.
That was my thinking on it. And I'm interested in knowing how, people who look at the animal world not quite as I do look at this, because this is what I found interesting. Of course, it's sad that all these little animals ended up as snake food mostly. But why is that worse than any other little animals ending up as snake food? I don't personally really get it. I sort of understand, that it hits people differently, but is it really any different? And is it worse? And I would suggest maybe not. And I'm interested in what other people think on this. And I just wonder if when it is little animals who came from the Humane Society who ended up as snake food, if that might wake people up a little bit to this whole idea of raising animals whose whole purpose on life is to be food for pets who probably would rather not live their lives in cages either. So I think, perhaps the whole industry sucks. And it's one thing for me to say that, but another for me to notice that when this story hits the news, people are really, really interested and people are really, really outraged that these animals ended up as reptile food. So what is that about? And I'm interested in your take on that too, Mark.
That's actually really provocative as usual. You sort of come down in a way that is thought-provoking, meaning one could say, well, that's terrible. I mean, you bring these animals to a shelter, you don't expect them to be ground up to be made food. I mean, it really is, and yet you appropriately point out, well, I mean, how is that any worse than the animals that are raised for food being ground up for food? Here's why it's a bit worse, because when I rescue a cat or a dog from the street and I bring it to any kind of shelter, city-run, county-run, whatever, shelter, the word shelter in itself connotes that something better is going to happen than that animal being loose on the street and having to forage for food or whatever it might be and being subjected to the cruelty that humans inflict on these wild creatures or just feral cats or wild dogs, whatever it might be. Or just, unhomed creatures. I mean, they may have gotten out and they've lost their way or whatever it might be. So because we've taken them to a, quote, shelter, the implication is that there will be a better fate awaiting them. Then we learn that, actually, we're going to kill them all, grind them up, and they're going to be reptile food. Well, that's disgusting. I never would bring that puppy or dog or whatever, that creature that needs my help. I would never bring that creature to other people who are charged with also helping, so that on down that chain of people helping will be some kind of new place for that creature to thrive and do well. That's all implied when you talk about a shelter. And so I find it objectionable and yet interesting, the point you're making, the notion that, well, they kind of end up, how is that worse? The how is that worse argument, I think, can be, it can be weaponized a little bit, and I feel as though it's a little weaponized in this case.
Interesting. I would agree with you totally that, and of course I get it, that people are more upset because it's the wrong thing to do to the people who have brought the animals to the shelter. But I also would just want to throw out the idea that those animals who the people have brought to the shelter don't really suffer anymore and don't matter anymore than those other animals who were going to be the food for those reptiles.
Oh,
and
of course that's true. Of course that's true.
Yeah. So when you say, it's funny that you use the word weaponized, because weaponized has negative connotations.
Of course,
Whereas
that's why I used
it. Okay, yeah. And I would suggest that perhaps it is provocative rather than weaponized in that, in the way I'm using it, that I would like people who think that this is so terrible, as I wrote in that letter, to think a little bit about the whole idea of having pet animals who eat other animals.
Look, I love that point you're making, and that's so provocative and so interesting. I think that's one of the reasons that you are interesting in this world of animal rights. I mean, you make the point that you made. But if I told you, we had the dog for 10 years and then we just donated to this place where they grind them up and make them food, you'd be okay with that? Not you, Karen Dawn, but one would be okay hearing that story. I mean, but then I said, well, honestly, how is it any worse than when we gave them 10 years and how is it any worse than the animals who are raised for food? They're all ending up in the same place. The how is it any worse argument, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Provocative, interesting, but when I talk about weaponized, I'd suggest that that's weaponized in that case. It's justifying unacceptable behavior. It's justifying an immorality that I'm not good with. Even as I say it, I have to recalibrate and think about what you said because I think it truly is provocative and interesting, but it just goes against the way I'm wired, I guess. I find it so repugnant, And repugnant is a dim word.
It goes against the way that everybody's wired, but I think it's time for us to look at our wiring. And I'm not saying, of course, it's fine that these animals ended up in the snakes' mouths. I'm suggesting that no animals bred by humans should end up in the mouths of animals bred by humans.
Really good stuff. I mean, I understand you're not condoning it, but you do offer a real interesting take on it. So, do we have something happy, Karen? I like you to end on something happy. You don't have anything? Okay. Thank you.
We certainly do. I wanted to share with you a few weeks ago, we spoke about an orca named Luna who came to a very sad end because this orca never had a pod who they fit in with for whatever reason and was always trying to be around humans and eventually got killed after, the humans banned the orca from people from talking to the orca. It was a mess. And you thought you were surprised to hear that I thought that particular orca would have been better off at SeaWorld, which is like, how could an animal rights person say that? So this orca, who I think Tony has video of, clearly also never found an orca pod he fit in with. And perhaps he was a vegetarian orca, who knows, or a pescatarian orca. But unlike the other orca who had no friends except humans, this particular orca, who people call Old Tom, has joined up with a bunch of dolphins. And we have video which we can show.
Tony, can you get that organized, or is
I hope that's coming up because it's not just a happy story.
I can find it. Hold on.
The link didn't work, but he's working on it. So let's see if we can find it.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
I just want to ask.
That's what we wanted to. If you can
okay.
find it.
Go ahead, Kim. Yeah, we're working on it.
I
wanted to ask Karen to pass the vegan chips or maybe the vegan sandwich, because I feel like I'm at a picnic with you. Like I'm sitting at a table, a picnic table, and I'm at a picnic with you right now. It's really fun.
When you say the vegan alternative, I have to share a dear friend of mine, and I hope you won't mind me dropping his name, but he really is one of my closest friends, is Bruce Greenwood, who's currently on Usher, the Usher series on Netflix.
Sure.
And he's well known in that series for a speech he does about lemons. I don't know if anybody has seen this series. And for Thanksgiving, he did a very fun on his own Instagram, did a very fun take on that, where he talked about making green beans. And every time he mentions butter or cream or anything, he says, or the vegan alternative, which I know is, I think Bruce is pretty much vegan. I don't know whether he would put real cream in his green beans every now and then, but I know that he would always make sure that he shouts out, "or the vegan alternative." So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I don't know. We're going to get the orca thing, but
Or not.
again,
Well, maybe next week we'll
apparently
share
the link doesn't quite take us to the video, but yeah, let's share it next week because you're saying it is a nice vision of the orca hanging out with dolphin
and it
friends.
just reminds us that all of these animals are individuals, whether it be the little mice or here we go. We're going to see him hanging out with. I hope we can.
Yeah, I don't know.
Already
it's a
gone.
pretty quick video. There it is.
Oh, here it is.
That's
I love his big body coming up in the midst of all the dolphins in there. So that's how he got around not having an orca pod to fit in with.
Wow, really something, man. It's really we're evolving to a better place with all these animals, and hopefully, they're so social and well developed and cognitively aware, and it's just these sea creatures are far more sentient, than given credit. Anyway, Karen, great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing the good and the not so good. And we'll look forward to talking to you next week. And we'll remind everybody, Dawn Watch is available, certainly dawnwatch.com, but also you have a Facebook following, I know that's pretty robust. So you can find, if you're on Facebook, Karen at Dawn Watch on Facebook. Good stuff. Thanks, Karen. Bye-bye.
Great to see you.
Yeah, I loved it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
She's always got provocative stuff, it gets me thinking sometimes. It's not what you'd expect. I'll give you the more predictable stuff when it comes to animals, like, harming them is bad. She'll give you sort of the gray areas, which I think are important, So good stuff. I wanted to make sure I didn't leave any comments out. Lori says she's excellent on Usher, by the way. Yeah. And I note... this is kind of gross. I don't want to read that. Let's move on from the animal cruelty. But and there's a question about hippos, which I'll ask her to address next time. Anyway, so there's all of that. I'm simply looking right now, and my cat's name is Luna. Great name. Oh, there you go, Al. All right, thank you. Thank you taking me to a better place. I love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Tony, we finish up here, and I'm thinking that, you caught a great break because I really don't have time to ask you to do a Christmas greeting. So, or holiday greeting.
I'll do it tomorrow.
You'll do it tomorrow, and we'll do it live. I mean, I think the way to do it is... we'll
do it live! I'll write it, and we'll do it live!
If anybody has a suggestion as to what Tony's message should be for the holidays, everybody here is going to do it. Albert's going to do one. Tony's going to do one. Kim's going to do one. I'm going to do a bunch of them, and they'll run through the holidays. And so we'll record one, but we want to rehearse it with audience input. So if you have audience input... And again, it's only going to be like a little thing, 20 seconds or so. Send it to the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com.
I don't need rehearsal. I'll do it in one take.
Kim is very confident.
Kim, how are you?
She doesn't worry about rehearsal.
One take wonder.
She wants to do it live.
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
So I'm offering Tony a rehearsal. I think rehearsal's never a bad thing. Maybe you should note that, Kim.
What are you trying to say, Mark?
Exactly.
What?
I'm just saying a little rehearsal can oftentimes smooth out a performance.
Who is having that conversation?
Maybe we're not having it enough. The after party live is going down now with John Daly and Kim.
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Tomorrow, There is a big water crisis with water that is under the ground, underground water supplies. It's not going on in California alone. It's going on in other parts of the country. I'll have that story tomorrow. Also, the loss, the passing of a notable preacher. A story out of Israel that you will not hear much. It has to do with the attacks and more.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
And all of your faves will be back.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Your support of the show. We love you. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.